Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with WRAL anchor and reporter Grace Holland, we're talking about a Wake Forest dad who has gone viral on TikTok, giving a huge boost to his music career. Grace, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
So TikTok is not just for teenagers anymore. It's become an incredible platform for marketing yourself. And that's what this dad, Luke Reynolds, who also has a day job, has done. He lives in Wake Forest, and he kind of moonlights in his home studio at night working on music. So tell me about kind of all the things that he does and how this has, he's carved out this time for this really big passion in his life.
Right. Yeah. One of the first things I did when I met Luke Reynolds at his home was just to kind of walk through the space. So on his first floor, when you come in, that's where his home office, where he works for Cisco, is. And he's an account manager there, does tech sales, obviously works from home. And, then he took us upstairs, and he has this space where that's where he does his TikTok live. So this isn't like what you may traditionally think of when you think of TikTok. The example he gave me, it's not just I make a video of me slipping on a banana peel and it gets 1 million views. It's he actually sits there for hours at a time and plays music for his audience. And sometimes people sit in there for as long as the entire time, an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes people sit there for 10 minutes, or maybe they just scroll right on by. But he actually has close to 50,000 followers. I think that's the threshold he's trying to cross next. He's around like 45 right now.
That's incredible. So he's not just doing this so somebody will swipe and, check him out for a few seconds. I mean, he's doing a live show, a live concert from his home at night, and he's got a pretty good fan base.
Yeah, for sure. And he says that there's a lot of people that he'll see the same people over and over again. And when he started, he had this one guitar that he was playing on, and one time for sort of a interactive thing, people gave him tips to have their name signed on the guitar. So he actually has like this guitar that has all of his kind of common fans written on it. So just showing how much they want to be involved. And then obviously they see their name on the guitar. So it's a cool thing.
That's really, really cool. So is he writing his own music, or is he doing covers? What's he doing?
So he started doing covers. He has written some original music now, but that was by the request of the fans. This wasn't a situation where he was going out trying to start a music career, the way he puts it to me. He's in his 40s, but he's always like, I'm an old man, which when you think about social media, I guess I can get where he's coming from. It's usually people who are much younger.
Right.
But he really just feels like he's going to do what the fans want him to do. And he started out, I think he said he had a repertoire of maybe like 100 songs, and now he's like 500 or something. Like
That's really a lot.
Yeah, it's really increased, and it's all because he wanted to play these songs that people were requesting and be able to give them the entertainment that they want. And through that process, he has written 2 original songs at this point. But again, that was something he never really thought he was going to do. And then the fans just really had an interest in hearing him play his own original stuff.
What kind of music?
He does a lot of I'm trying to think how to explain it. Sort of like, I would call it like early 2000s, like Blink-182 sound, but he's learned a lot of country, actually, because a lot of the fans really like country. So it's kind of a mix of those, I would say.
Lots of different genres. Well, he sounds fascinating. We're going to be back after the break with more from WRAL's Grace Holland about how TikTok has made a difference in a Wake Forest man's career and also, I guess, his attitude on life. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with WRAL's Grace Holland about a Wake Forest man pursuing his musical dreams on TikTok, of all places. So, Grace, how did he get this idea to go on TikTok at his age?
Yeah, so the way he described it to me was, he's a dad at home with 2 kids. I think one is 10, one is 12. It was during the pandemic, so he wasn't able to go out and hang out with a lot of his dad friends or just other people his age. And it actually started, he had like a virtual reality headset. And he was in, I want to say it was a Microsoft version of sort of like what Meta is now, or the metaverse. And he was trying to just kind of make friends there. And he was playing music actually in that space too. He just would pick up his guitar and play concerts on this VR space. And then somewhere along the line, he kind of found TikTok, and it just, I think, kind of fit him better, because it was more face-to-face for, at least on his side.
Right. So it was a good platform for him. Now, one of my favorite parts of your story is that his quote-unquote home studio is where? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's in the kids' playroom, and they sort of share the playroom. So it's like the kids, I mean, there's a couch and stuff, but there's a lot of toys in there, and then there's this one corner where that's where he does his TikTok lives. And it's so fascinating because there's several guitars on the walls in there. And I was asking him about, how many of these did you have, or, how did you come in? He's like, oh, these are all, like, the fans paid for these because people tip him. So basically the amount of tips paid for, I want to say it's like at least 6 or 7 guitars. And he started with one, and now he's got all these other guitars, and he, will switch them out and play different ones.
Wow. So he's actually making money doing this.
Yeah. And I mean, he doesn't see it as a career. He's certainly not someone who's trying to leave his current career. He said many times he's very happy with Cisco, but and Cisco knows about him doing this and everything.
So it's a side hustle, but it's something that he really loves. It sounds like.
Yeah, and it's given him some really incredible opportunities. We talked about the original song. He made a music video in California, with funds from this. And then recently he actually did like a takeover, as they say, of the TikTok US account. So he did a whole live on the TikTok US account, which gives him, puts him in front of even more viewers than he would normally come across.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, I mean, he sounds very humble. He's not trying to create, launch himself into this big music career. But it sounds like it is translating in some ways into a career. I mean, an extra career, a second chapter, if you will. So what's come from this for him?
Yeah, I think he just gets a lot of satisfaction and just fun out of doing it. I think the social aspect is really important to him, and in that, a lot of these people that follow him and watch a lot, they share very personal stories. People will say, he was telling me that someone told him that they watch him when they're in chemotherapy, or their mom was a big fan and she went into hospice and they continue to play his lives for them. I mean, these are really deeply personal moments that he's finding himself in the middle of just over TikTok. And he just feels like, okay, well, I want to be there and sort of be a positive force. Obviously, we talk a lot about with TikTok the negative implications that can be there. And I
mean, that's what I was thinking. He's made some really personal connections with his audience. And we have talked a lot about the negative parts of TikTok, kids maybe spending too much time on social media. And so this is a real positive use of this platform.
Right. And the other thing is that, he knows some people, I think, locally that are trying to break into the music industry. He was telling me he has some people that he's trying to mentor and teach them how to grow a following on TikTok live the way he's done. He says it doesn't work for everybody. Some people prefer live shows. He also told me at this point he doesn't really have any interest himself in doing live shows because it just wouldn't be the same kind of stopping and talking to the audience.
Right. It's not, this has really worked for him.
Right. And as far as other people who might try to pursue a career in music sort of as their primary income, it's like he said, most record labels are going to want you to have a social platform.
Sure.
And have that footprint. So he's, trying to mentor.
It sounds like he's mentoring people.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask, and I don't know if he told you this, but what do his kids think about this? I mean, dad's on TikTok.
Right. I asked him, I was like, do they think it's cool, or is it like a dorky dad? Is it like dorky that your dad's trying to do TikTok, you know? And he said that the younger one, is still kind of young enough, like what dad does is cool. And then the older one, she's 12, so she's, about to be a teenager, so a little bit more standoffish.
Step back,
about it.
Right. Like,
but,
I can't believe dad's doing this. But I bet secretly she's proud of him.
Oh, yeah. And she has a sort of a limited TikTok account that they monitor with her, and she watches his lives, and, he'll see her liking them.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure
the support is there.
I'm sure she's impressed. Well, he sounds like an incredible person Thank you so much for sharing this inspirational story. And we definitely wish him the best and keep making people happy. Absolutely. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. If you like what you're hearing, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or on whatever podcast app you use. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.